Morning. All right. I'm seeing 3 months. So I figured you can't do much. Yeah. Hey, how are you? Why you call? Hey, how are you guys start working? I'm a lot of years. I was gonna do one. We're small down. It's married. We're good. Thanks. This is we run so. Vacation. Oh, girl. Taking vacation. And all. So they close. Oh, no, just oh, you do. Years. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
How's it going? How much the baby did? Yeah.
She had a lot of babies.
That one thing.
See if I've got a picture, I should.
That yours. All right.
Where are you?
What's going on? You got on work on.
Oh, that's cute.
Good to meet you.
What I know so.
Boy, you nice, yeah.
Fortunately.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay, good.
Definitely belongs in our family.
How's all right? You got stored?
It's went well.
No.
How's the Brad and Bernie? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I worked in the office, so I don't hear the sensitive today.
Oh, good. Hey.
How are you? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Morning, sir.
Sorry.
All right. But Mark, how you doing?
Doing good.
Thank you for being here.
Really.
But, yeah. Hey, guys, nice to meet you.
There's rules.
He's paid. You got an armful.
Yeah.
You can't. And here he is.
We had so many realizations. And that was fucking that like on the edge of the fire.
Very good. Your wife, the motivated was something about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
Well, you don't stop, so.
Oh,
It's so good. Yeah. What was that something powerful, you know? It was, it's something. You must wait to get it. Well, I don't know. Well, you made that down, but you're meant to pass. I was thinking that really hard, but. Yeah. I'm very, I'm very. I can't, wait.
Yeah, big figures.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh.
It's come, but. Hey. I don't know what's that, Tom, do. It's crazy. Somebody, you know, that's all this. There we go, I'll get that.
Morning.
I said, it's so.
It's your day, go Bob here. Cause chaos. Still got training today? Where's it at?
Today's Bruno Ashton.
Yeah. $3 minutes.
Judge usually has a bunch of more. There she is.
Oh, she is.
She's pulling through. Thank you.
We have the meeting building.
No. Take this quick.
Yeah.
All right. It's 9 o'clock. Can you please stand? I've asked Mark Robbins, Crossroads Church, to open us in the prayer this morning. You're good.
Father, for the greatest country on this world has ever known, we say thank you this morning. From thy hand, we have a bounty and provision. And we have law, Lord, that you established and find in your word. We just say thank you. We ask you pour out your blessings on this time with commissioners today, Father. Give them wisdom like Solomon has, Lord, just give them wisdom. As they lead, as they govern, as they watch out for the people of this county. Lord, we love you. Thank you for the cross. Thank you for the empty tomb. For the hope we everyone have. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge to the American flag. Luke, I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Going to call this meeting to order and announce we have a quorum. All the commissioners and myself are present. And I please like to remind you to silence your cell phones, please. General announcements. Do we have any general announcements? No. Do we have any public comments? Anybody sign up for public comments? Very good. All right, we'll move right on to item number 4, discuss and consider approving budget adjustment for $200,000 from contingency to capital outlay. This is as a result of our approval of the new contract for the building at 1930 Trade State Boulevard. And this is to get the money into the appropriate accounts to allow us to write the check, $200,000. So is there a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
I'll motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
I oppose it.
You oppose it, okay. All right, item number 5, discuss, consider updating the current salvage wrecking yard, junkyard ordinance.
Good morning, Clark. I emailed all of y'all about a month ago, the update to the ordinance. It will just be an amendment, but I still, under Mrs. Curry's advice, I would still advise that we post it as if it was a new ordinance because there are some finer details in there. Like the one that the county clerk gave me, it's okay, but it references a lot of administrative code and governing code, so you have to go like 6 different books to find out what you had to do, right? So this is one document that if you do everything on this document, then you'll be good. Some things that are gonna be some major changes on it is that it'll take something off Keegan's plate because it's gonna come 100% through the fire marshal's office. They'll come to our office to pay for it. And it won't, and whenever I'm done is when I'll ask Keegan to put it on an agenda item for y'all. The other thing that I like about it is for new salvage yards coming in, when they apply for their permit, I have to send out mailings to all nearby schools, churches, and residents. And then they have an opportunity to voice their concerns with having that wrecking salvage yard wherever it's being located, and they can voice their concerns to the commissioner's court, and then ultimately it's the commissioner's court decision as to whether or not to approve that new salvage or wrecking yard. The other thing is what's called the visual aesthetics. So it has to be completely enclosed and nothing can be over 8 feet. So those are the major updates. I guess from this point, I just need to make it a clean document from the revisions that Commissioner Williams and I made on it. But other than that, it's good to go from my point of view. Are there any questions, gentlemen?
Won't we need to have a public hearing on this?
Yes, sir. If we go on that, part of going, if this was a new one, part of that, and that's what we're gonna follow, is if this was a new one, we'll have to have a public hearing. It's gotta be posted for, I think, 10 days or something like that. But yes, sir, we'll go through the motions of as if it was a new ordinance, even though it will read, because it is an amendment, because we've had one for a while.
Are we holding up anybody from getting any renewals or anything at this time based on this?
No, sir. As of right now, it's been business as usual for right now.
Okay. So we just want to move ahead with the public hearing.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question on this too?
Sure.
Does this same ordinance fit for like the scrap iron places?
It's not a part of that, no, sir.
I didn't know if that was in the same.
No, sir. So, when you read the Texas Administrative Code, the Texas Government Code, it gives definitions as to what everything is. And the scrap yards are not a part of this.
Cause I know they stack a lot higher than 8 foot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's kind of weird because as y'all know, that usually Texas doesn't give us much room to kind of dictate how people do things, but they got us a lot of leverage on salvage and wrecking yards. So.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, I think we should schedule the public hearings.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you want a motion that we move forward and schedule a public hearing on the salvage wrecking junkyard ordinance? Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
And to post it.
And to post it in, okay,
Yes, sir.
Post the new rules, post the proposed rules.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
okay.
Yeah, I'd second Mitch's motion.
Okay. So
That's good work.
any further discussion? Post, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, item number 6. This is a workshop, discussion on rental properties.
Yeah, this is an item that I have been looking at, and we had to table it 2 weeks ago. And I'd like to introduce a law office that's here with us today, Guest and Gray, who have some insight into this particular issue and can talk about issues related to rental properties. We've been looking closely at and have recently revised our subdivision rules, and there may be some additional need for some additional revisions in that subdivision regulation. But I'd like to bring Guest and Gray up, and they'll have a little bit of information. And I'll tell you that there are some specific things. As Van Zandt grows, we can look to the west and see that some things that are coming this way have not done well, and perhaps are a larger drain on our resources than they should be. And so I specifically spoke with these 2 gentlemen, and I asked them to provide us with some information because they have been knee deep or worse in the fight in Kaufman County, and I believe they can provide some insight for us. Gentlemen?
I thank you guys for, and I'll turn it over to Robert because he's done most of the research, but give you guys a little bit of background. We kind of got involved with these kinds of issues. We've represented developers, we've represented, helped Kaufman County, when there were cities trying to annex in and go through all those things.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I'm Scott Gray,
Robert
Judge
Guest.
Reeves.
And what, Robert?
Robert Guest.
All right.
Yeah, so, we've gotten involved in this because, we are the fastest growing county in the state of Texas. And when you have the civil law firm, you deal with those kinds of things. We're local counsel for a lot of developers, going through those and whatnot. And we've also helped advise, our local district attorney's office on certain issues and things that have popped up. And, I think Robert's going to get into, what you guys can do as far as development and setting forth regulations to kind of make sure you can control what's coming in, because that's the biggest thing you can do as far as setting up what kind of rentals and things like that are going on.
I live in North Forney, and if you're not familiar with Forney, the city kind of ends where a lot of the developments begin, especially the new subdivisions. And so it creates jurisdictional issues. Like we have a sheriff's department near North Forney High School. The sheriff's office is in Kaufman. We have the Forney Police Department not responding unless it's like an emergency call, but the constable, whose normal job is, among other things, like serving papers for process, has now had to build out an entire police force. And we don't have any votes in city elections. And so it's created a lot of problems with building kind of community cohesion because we're a product of a mud district. And so the first thing you kind of see happen is there'll be an election for a bond for just enormous amount, like $100 million, $500 million, like one guy votes. and then all of a sudden you're in a mud. What does the mud do? Well, the mud means you're never gonna get annexed because those bonds become due. So once that thing gets built, it's there forever. And the developers, and I'm not anti-developer, but generally, if they don't build it early, they don't ever build it. They give you the nice model with the pool and the thing. And then they start building what makes the most money. You can't really restrict that.
What do you think makes them the most money out there?
And, well, I'll jump right into it.
50-foot lots with as little as they can possibly put up, because that's what happens eventually as they lose control.
Does the developer put in a sewer system for all of these houses? How do they?
No, the houses do with the mud. These people pay.
Yeah, the mud does.
The mud does. They basically borrow against them. The people as they go in pay for their sewer system. It's all on the backs of the residents.
On a 50-foot lot, you're talking about, do they put their own treatment system in, like for the
That they have
for
before.
the subdivision? In other words, a 50-foot lot on 20 acres, how many houses would that be? They'd have to have some kind of system in
That'd
that.
be 40 houses, minus the streets.
Yeah, they will either try to tie in with one of the cities,
Or have-
or one of the water districts, or, but for instance, that's what Devonshire does, or I think Windmill Farms put in their own system, and then, of course, it didn't work, and there were lawsuits for 20 years over that after it went in because it was such a mess.
Does the county, is there anything on the back of the county government related to that, or can we, if there's a bad development, and what I mean by bad development is a development that comes in, are these developments largely rental properties, or are they largely single-family homeowners?
North Forney started with just single family homes. Recently, with the new builders, they're building build to rent communities, which means none of the houses are for sale. And these are large, as your BlackRock, Blackstone, large corporate builders. And so they come in, they build a house, depreciate it, and maybe 20 years later, they sell off these homes. But right now, we have at least 2 built to rent communities. One's next to the apartment complex, one isn't. But
A lot of these homes, after the first buyer get bought up by investors, often from China. I can't tell you how many evictions go through the JP courts of a Chinese investor or something. And so it's people that aren't in the community, don't care, they just want their money.
we've done a lot of title work, and during COVID, probably a quarter of our buyers were from India or China. And I remember I'd see the buyer, I'd go, congratulations, welcome to Forney. He's like, I'm just the power of attorney. And so there's something we aren't talking about. We're going to talk around. Just really don't want to address it, but there's a market for houses of a certain size and can get a certain subsidy from the government. And there's a market to find the people who qualify for these. And so, for example, Dallas will ship people to Forney who qualifies for housing subsidies. They will not tell the city of Forney who they are, where they are, what they're doing. We can't even inspect the homes. And that's a big problem. So everyone gets mad at the city, they're not in the city, then everyone gets mad at the county can't do anything about it. I had a case, I'm a criminal lawyer, and the person came here from Baltimore on a subsidy. Like, why'd you pick Forney? She's like, well, someone told me it'd be a nice place to live. And I thought, okay. And so at a certain house size, at a certain price point, it's pure cash flow rental, and you'll get as many as you can build, and the builders know this. And so you can just go look up how much money can I get for this many people in a house. You're gonna get flooded with homes. And so that's what happened to us. And I live in North Forney. I like my neighborhood. We have significant challenges now because of this. Infrastructure is just one issue. But it started with a decision many years ago to not annex North Forney. So what I did for today is talk about what you can do, what some of the options are. And so we'll talk about ETJ, city, and then county. All right. You have the most control of areas within your city. So if it's in the city, you can do a lot of things. I talked about lots and this and that. As an ETJ, you can do some things with approving plats, excuse me. And you can kind of tie in your water planning too, and say that, okay, we're going to provide this kind of water system for this kind of lots, and then kind of use that as an overlay to go, well, our water plan will only support this kind of development anyway, so you want to do that. Now, there has been a change, a very recent change, where people can get out of their ETJ very easily.
And that's a legislative change?
Correct.
Okay. Last session,
And it's
not this 2 sessions ago.
it's become just incredibly simple. But you go to the government code 232, kind of talks about platting and your ability to approve plats or not, and there's reasons you can and can't, I'm gonna go through them. But between water board, water zoning kind of platting requirements, the ETJ, and then the city, those are all your ways you can control development. You have the least control of your non-ETJ county area. And so you've got to kind of either make a plan for that. Are we gonna try to annex it? Well, when annexation became extremely hard, like 6 years ago, we had a vote, wanted to do it. And the whole time you're doing this, the developers are getting that mud ready for the one guy who's gonna vote for $500 million in bonds. And so you've got to get ahead of it. You need to know where these things are happening, know where they're gonna try to borrow this money, because once they build that, you're never gonna annex it. The cost will be prohibitive.
And the mud, now, when you talk about that, the mechanics of how that occurs is that the builder in the beginning is the one who votes for that mud to encumber that development. And once he starts leasing out those homes, then it's pretty well set and it can't be changed.
Correct. They'll form a new mud district. And it'll be one guy like in a trailer, and he's the only voter. And he'll go down to his ballot box and go and vote for all the bonds in the world, and he'll go, sure. And that's it. That's all you get. It's over. So then that bond attaches to that development. So then down the road, if you want to annex it to make it part of your city, those bonds become due. And so no one has the money to pay that. And so what they're doing is actually making this like an in perpetuity development that you can never get the city to have, join to make a cohesive unit, which, like I said, causes real problems. I mean, people in Devonshire are shocked to find out they can't vote for city council. I live in Devonshire. And they're like, why is the sheriff here? Why is the constable here? So it creates a lot of issues, and it makes it hard for the city to plan. This planning for traffic, planning for zoning, planning for city parks is incredibly difficult because the huge developments are north of Florida. We're unique in that, it's a high growth area right off the highway, not in the city. And so what you want to look at is development follows the highway. They buy the biggest tract of land they can and put as many homes in as they can. And you need to know where they're coming, know who's building them, and then make a plan for each of them on what you're gonna do, because you'll have different options depending on how far along they are, what kind of area it is, and then what you can do with ETJ and non-ETJ county or city.
There's different water and lot size restrictions and things counties can do to try to regulate it and discourage the types of homes that turn into the rental issues that we're talking about.
Our subdivision rules, for example, have a minimum lot size of 1 acre. Do you see our subdivision rules as being an inhibitor to that type of activity if they're not within a city or an ETJ?
My experience with this has a lot to do with what happened in Sunnyvale. And they were known for having a shift of lot sizes. And there was a lot of litigation over that. I could give you a better answer if I could those rules and then compare them what they had. Because they were constantly getting sued under the Fair Housing Act because they got an acre minimum lot size.
Yeah.
And they held out. They goes like, sue us, we don't care. And then they got their own school district. But if I could see those, I could give you a better answer.
Yeah, we can. And again, the fire marshal's here and does a lot of those inspections. But as you know, in the county, we don't have the ability to do a lot of limiting in that area. What do you see as some of the things that the county can do to be more protective of how the county grows?
Establish PIDs along the highways and
Look at areas for your own utilities. Look at taking ownership of what the water plant is, what our PIDs, those are kind of like most different. Look for incentives to build the things you want. Like say, hey, if you build, the Platinum Plus approved plat plan, look at platting. Platting's your major power. It's hard to refuse things, but you can at least get a say in the platting rules. But your main tools are like incentivize, water, platting. That's for non-ETJ, non-city land. And if you can make your own utility districts before the MUDs get there, you should strongly consider it.
This is well out there and time to cover your ears, but what would be the possibility? And this really, a very smart person said this to me, as it relates to dealing with the green energy issues, with the big wind farms, etc. they don't have the ability, those green energy and same with these, they don't have the ability to expand generally in municipal districts, in cities. What if we created 4 cities out of the unincorporated areas of the 4 precincts, just for the ability to limit or have a larger hand in controlling how those are developed?
I would say it would certainly work. The PR campaign to get that done is very ambitious, to say the least. Knowing, just thinking back from the litigation we've done from folks trying to stay out of cities, I don't think enough people see the benefit of being in incorporated areas and what it does to protect their homes and their lands and their properties. But yeah, if you could do that, then certainly you would alleviate a lot of these issues.
And it would have to be, and me and Scott did some annexation work, and Scott's wife won a big annexation case, which is really, really good work. But they see the city as like this thing coming to take their farm or not let them run their fireworks stand, like a threat to them. And until now, until Forney's kind of happened and we've seen it, I think now we have a more crystallized case of this is what happens if you don't do this. So we don't want to take a fireworks stand, but do you want to be surrounded by only rental communities? And you got a decision to make, because that's the real choice you have. You guys have highway land, it's going to be available. Someone's going to buy up hundreds of acres and just plot it for as many houses they can put on there, as many as they can sell at a certain price point, and if not, they'll be rents.
Well, there's a lot of concerns that I have and have been passed along to me related to both green energy and to development and how the properties are developed. And I think we need to look at how Van Zandt County is developed so that it maintains its agricultural and more rural lifestyle. But that's my own opinion.
The folks that get into trouble are the ones that don't have a plan. If you let it happen to you, then you're in bad shape. The ones that come up with a strategic plan and stick to it and work with all the different municipalities and everybody's together on this is the kind of thing that we would like to have here and here and here. The ones that sit back and just let it happen, though, you end up in a worse position.
So, and that's what I've done for you. There was this idea that if we don't annex all this land, we won't have all this growth. Well, they didn't annex all the land, and the growth came anyway. And in fact, it encouraged it, because non-ETJ, non-annexed land is the Wild West of development, and that's what we've got. And so we have disjointed neighborhoods that don't make any sense. We've overflowed the 548 is like an insane traffic jam. And we've got enough Dollar Generals, like everyone can have their own now. And so, and
nail salon.
Yeah, and we have plenty of nail salons. And I live in North Forney. I like my city. I wanted to succeed, but I can see mistakes they made 20, 30 years ago that are coming now. People bear that on.
Can Van Zandt put some things in place that will be the plan to help alleviate some of those issues? And are there other counties that you're familiar with that have instituted such a plan to some success?
We went through the opposite of this with Terrell, actually. They had to put their maps out, and they had a plan for what they wanted to do along the highway. Part of Mesquite is in Kaufman County, and they did kind of a pretty smart move for them. They annexed a highway intersection, basically all the land on there, so they could control that corridor. And not to keep bragging on Scott's wife, but she shut down the second phase of that development, but the first one, they got in there before I could check them, and they did that. And so they wanted to control 20 into Mesquite, because that's easy tax money, no homes, no students to pay for it. It's schools and warehouses, or sorry, 7-Elevens and warehouses and everything you want, right? And so that did work for them. Now that's a different use case, and that's just highway development.
And the benefit of what happened there, and the homes that are being built, the nicer homes in Forney, are actually now City of Mesquite. And what they've done is the developers have voluntarily annexed in the city because it's there, because then they don't have to get the bonds, and the city works with them on getting sewer and water. And they've worked with the developers for mutual benefits, and you get a better product of what goes into the county. But, yeah.
No, that is the other half of this. It's not just, forbidding things and preventing things. It's partner with people who come to you in faith and build what you want. And go, how can we work this out? How can we help you utilities and get this done? Because you'll find those good builders who care about how the neighborhood is, not these fly by night who care about places.
And they're good developers that know how to
Yeah.
make money building good product. And if you know that you're getting ready to be the next spot, you get those people lined up, you incentivize them to come in as opposed to some of the ones where you get a garage door and a front door.
And yeah, just look around neighborhoods, you think this is an asset to the community, find who built it and start those conversations.
Well, we have a very good developer that has had conversations with us and is doing some things in the county, and that may be something, Doc, that we can expand on some. But the reason why I asked you guys here today is perhaps you can assist us, and I'll provide you with our subdivision rules and some of these things, but I think we need to be proactive in this. I think we need not be reactive. I think we need to be proactive with this. And so it would be helpful to me if we could work some on how we move forward. And I'll be asking and encouraging the commissioners here to participate in that endeavor. Is there anything else that you can think of now? Just why don't you go ahead and say your wife has done several things to help in this, and why is that?
Well, so if you guys remember when they changed the annexation rules, to basically where the cities couldn't annex unless there's a vote, there was a deadline, and several cities around the state all started, we're gonna annex everything we can right now while we can. We call it involuntary annexation. And there was a deadline, and Tracy and I, Congressman Gooden asked Tracy to, hey, can you help with this? And of course, Robert and I said, that's a terrible idea. She did it anyway.
And who is Tracy, by the way?
Tracy Gray, my wife, she's a judge in Kaufman County.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, she ended up, was the only lawyer in the state that won, keeping the cities from actually annexed. There were lots of lawsuits filed. We still to this day can't have dinner in Mesquite. So,
well, that's very good, and I appreciate your information. Does anybody else have any questions related to rental properties and or growth and distribution?
Well, I think it goes back to what you mentioned just a minute ago, was talking about making 4 big cities in our county of each precinct. Is that that's not feasible, right?
Oh, it actually is feasible, and rather than each precinct, I mean there are hurdles to go over there, but it is possible.
So then if you do that, does Grand Saline lose its autonomy? I mean,
No, not at all.
This is just all the unincorporated areas become part of the city.
guys, what might be more likely is that you go to the landowners, like let's say if the city ban goes to everybody that's kind of touching them with a large tract, and you say, we would like you to voluntarily annex your land into the city. Here's a development agreement. You're not gonna pay city taxes. You're not gonna be regulated. The only thing we're gonna try to do is restrict X,
Right.
There's people that might go along with that. They might go along with that just to protect their farm and their neighbor's farm, because they think their neighbor's gonna do that to protect their land and something not going in, then it would benefit me to do mine.
Edgewood wouldn't even be talking about this development that's out there on the battery energy storage if those areas were inside the city.
How long was that agreement when they wanted to do those Carroll's ETJ, and they said, we're not gonna do anything for like decades?
It's 30, I think 30 years is the limit on them.
Yeah, so they're like, we won't change anything. Just here are the rules, we're gonna keep in place, and then in 30 years, we'll annex it. And so it was no like, oh, here comes the government, the county or the government, whoever, to come change the way we live. It was, we're gonna prevent your neighbors from building a giant apartment complex. And they get that. They go, okay, I don't want that. And so that's another way to kind of do it. We can offer different solutions like that to get people to voluntarily want to annex, because their initial reaction is they feel threatened. But if you explain to them, we're protecting your land. We want it to be agriculture, we want it to be rural, we want it to keep the nature of what it is, that makes it special. People will usually go along to do that because it just takes one neighbor to sell to a developer. All of a sudden, you got a huge subdivision of houses right next to each other.
I mean, I've talked to several reps and senators about this, and I don't think the way the annexation rules are right now are going to last forever. I mean, it's just basically they can't do anything, and so one of these days they're gonna have to find a happy compromise with all the growth and development. But right now, that's your best shot, is getting something done, is to, incentivize them to voluntarily annex it.
Well, I think one deal, you gotta have a plan, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought it up, Cliff, because we can. More than one subject with this, but we can learn from other people's mistakes and be prepared for what's coming.
And if a developer's already purchased land right now and owns it.
I mean, look, Collin County wasn't a whole lot different than Van Zandt County 30, 40 years ago, and the Plano was just a farming town, and they came up with a plan, and it's not perfect, but I would say, have brought the right kind of development in where they have a tax base where they can handle the issues they've got to deal with. Your school districts will suffer tremendously for these rooftops that aren't worth anything. I mean, they lose money on the net by the students that come in when these come in, and everybody knows if your school district starts getting a bad reputation, everybody's home values and whatnot go down. So that to me is the thing Forney has done, has really, we've had to fight that over and over. I mean, you have to get the commercial development in to make up for the rooftops, because the rooftops will kill your school districts. So.
It also seems like to me that, we need to do whatever we can to try to prevent muds, spuds, and all the other utility districts. Is that a good?
If you've got a developer that is not somebody that you want, then yes.
Because you'll lose control of that area. It's gonna be its own utility district. You will never be able to annex it. They'll build whatever they want. And they'll do that one person votes thing. So you created this, this section of your county that owes hundreds of millions of dollars that the residents are responsible for. And they don't have a vote like in most areas of local government or the city. The city can't do anything to help them, right? We have to provide services and fire departments and stuff. But at the same time, they're in your community, but they're not having the same rights as everyone else. And the builder may not have the same incentives to improve the community that you would want, for the same civic, pride or responsibility. And like I said, to try to buy it, to try to annex it, is prohibitively expensive. So you have to pay for those bonds. So I don't know if it's ever been done. I can't think of it. I can't.
Guys, thank y'all for having us, and individually would like to talk to us at any point, feel free. And
I will. I'll get with you. I'll provide you the documentation we talked about today, and then we'll start moving forward on some of these issues that we're working with.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anything else on that?
That's.
Can I, quick,
Yes.
I agree with a lot of what they said. I do think we're in a little bit different position here. One thing that will help us a lot that we already have is the fact that we are a 1 acre county. Kaufman County is not. So anything outside of the city's ETJ, according to your subdivision guidelines, are 1 acre. And I understand what he was saying about Sunnyvale, but our 1 acre comes from TCEQ. We're a county, not a city. So they would have to sue TCEQ on that issue, and it would be TCEQ fighting that. So I think that 1 acre will help us a lot. It would be hard for a developer to come in, to afford to come in, build houses on a full acre, and then build the kind of houses on a full acre that would justify a full rental community like what they're talking about.
Did we look at that and TCEQ had diminished their size to half acre?
There are some areas of the state that you can go half acre. Kaufman County is half acre.
Okay.
But by agreement with TCEQ, and TCEQ would have to be the one to change it, we are a 1 acre county. So that would help us a lot. Cities can only grow depending, there's a scale of how much growth the city can do, how much ETJ they can take in, based on their population. So as far as the cities we already have in the counties trying to grow, they would be limited in that. Now, he's also right, where we lose control is the ETJ, because we, by agreement with the cities, have already surrendered our control over the ETJ to the cities. And the cities are currently doing half acre. So that's where there's some risk for developments developers that don't keep up their developments and don't do as they're supposed to do. The other thing, in our subdivision guidelines, we already have in there that all roads must be paved. That's a huge expense for developers. So again, developers coming in wanting to do purely rental communities, that kind of stuff would already be made difficult based on our subdivision guidelines.
If that one fella though votes for the, $100 million bond, then they do have the money to put in their roads and comply with those things and then walk away from it, later after
Yes,
they make
the mud districts are a potential problem. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So who has jurisdiction in the ETJs as far as?
We have surrendered our jurisdiction of the ETJs to the county by an agreement that was done long before any of us here.
The city.
With the city, I mean, yes, with the city. We have surrendered regulation of the ETJs to the cities by an agreement that was done long before any of us in this room.
But Wills Point is giving it back, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, but if there was a 5,000 rooftop development out here outside of one of these cities and our constable office had to hire, 20 officers, that could be bad.
Yes, and I know from experience in criminal cases in Kaufman County that they have faced that. Now, I believe our sheriff's office would still respond.
Sure, but whether we have to boost our sheriff's office or our constable's office by 20 or 30 or 40 deputies is
6 of one, half dozen
yeah,
the other.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate Gaston Gray, law offices out of 40 coming in to discuss with us, and I'm looking forward to talking with them more personally. And hopefully we can work on some solutions.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. We're moving on to item number 7, a workshop to discuss Van Zandt County ambulance service.
I put this on here. I have some concerns specifically. We entered into a paramedic ambulance services contract with Christus back in 2019, and it has been ongoing. This was April 29 of 2019. And there's a particular areas in here in this contract that I have some concerns with. And the first one is, and I have spoken with them personally regarding this, but in paragraph 4 of the rights and duties of CEMS, which is Christus Emergency Management Services, it says that they'll provide coverage in the county by staffing mobile intensive care unit ambulance equipped to provide emergency and non-emergency and emergency medical services 24 hours each day. There will be one ambulance based in each of the following locations: Wills Point, Grand Saline, Van, Edom, and in South Van Zandt County at a location be mutually identified. And I spoke with them back in January, and I said, where's the one in South Van Zandt? Because that's my precinct. And they said, we don't have a place to park it. And I said, that's not my problem. I'm here to help you with some solutions. We can go to the volunteer fire department that is at 1256 and 19, or at my barn. I have plenty of room. Just tell me where you want it to be. I mean, not anybody from my road crews here to dispute that I have enough room. They may say that we don't, but I'm saying that we do. But there's not an ambulance there. And precinct 2 is a part of Van Zandt County and is a part of this contract. And in 6 years, they have not stationed an ambulance in precinct 2. I told them in January, you need to station an ambulance in precinct 2. Do we have any firefighters here today that are from Van Zandt precinct 2? Is there an ambulance that's posted in our precinct anywhere that I'm not aware of? Is anybody aware of an ambulance posted in precinct 2 serving precinct 2? Let the record reflect that there is nobody here that indicates that there's an ambulance in one of the contractually obligated areas for an ambulance. Now, is there another ambulance service that might be here with us in the meeting today? Oh, would you please step forward to the microphone and introduce yourself?
Hey, Cliff, before they start, was there any other spots that you found besides that one? Did they have one in Wills Point, Wrestling Van in the Edom area?
Is there anybody here that can say that there's one in Edom?
There is one in Edom.
Is there one in Grand Saline?
Yes.
Is there one in
Van? Yes. In Edgewood?
Edgewood has that pickup, doesn't it?
Edgewood has a Q1.
They can do everything but transport.
They can't transfer.
It says that there will be a quick response vehicle based in Edgewood 24 hours each day.
Yes.
And in addition to that, one other thing that I mentioned to them, and I have the reports here from both January and the most recent report, 90% of their calls have to be responded within 14 minutes and 59 seconds. And if we go to the May 2025, 90 percentile, 911 life-threatening emergency requests, 90th percentile, 16 minutes and 50 seconds. And the 9 county 911 life-threatening emergency requests, those are city. The city requests are 16 and a half minutes. In the county, if you're so fortunate as to live there, the 90th percentile is 22 minutes and 23 seconds. That's not in compliance with the contract under any circumstance, especially if you don't have an ambulance posted in precinct 2.
And part of what they said was that sometimes they transport to those, well, Fort Worth is where he said the furthest part, but that shouldn't be our contracted ambulance's responsibility to go all the way to Fort Worth, should it?
How they do their business is their own problem, but if they don't comply with the contract,
That's what I'm saying.
then
It puts them out of compliance with our contract.
this contract says that they have to, from wherever they are, they got to respond within 14 minutes and 59 seconds.
And they haven't.
And they have not. They didn't in January. They haven't done it now. And I will tell you, this incident report here was from yesterday. This narrative here indicates that they waited over an hour. Whew. And when they got there, M11 crew stated it was indicated they were dispatched to assist their other unit at a neighbor's house. So we got called out on one. There's a problem. And then somebody came outside and said, hey, next door, got folks falling out over here too. The ambulance rolls up without lights, without siren, an hour late, and said, what do y'all need? And our volunteer fire department, who's already got enough on their backs, and I'll open up the floor here in just a minute, said we already found another way to transport them. Now, who are you with, sir?
I'm with UT Health EMS.
And
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm sorry, I'm Roy Langford, I'm Section Director, I'm
Just for the
Do,
YouTube.
do you have some solutions that might be able to help precinct 2 in Van Zandt County?
Yes, sir. If the county decides that, they want to go out for RFP and we, are lucky enough to win the bid, we would put an ambulance in your precinct. We would station it out there either at the fire department or at your barn. We have enough area over there that we looked at, we have Maybank and Henderson County plus this area, so we would be able to station a truck there that would be able to handle all this area here. Also, if I'm not mistaken, the cities that you mentioned, all of them at the time of the contract with the county, they elected to have their city contracts tied to the county contract. Now, they're individual contracts, but they're dated the same, so the contracts end and renew at the same time. So, but since they're individual, those cities would have to go, they'd have to give notice too, and through their council. And so, if they did that and stayed like the county, then we would put an ambulance in each one of the cities like they are now. Okay, and then, cover those, and we would just continue the service. Now, the way we run our system is through a system status management plan through our Pulse. And so as trucks leave the county running calls to transport to the various hospitals, we move trucks in to cover those areas.
And where do those trucks come from?
Probably Smith County, that's closest, or Henderson County.
So you don't.
And as we move those trucks around, they'll come from other counties.
So what
We kind
I'm
of
curious,
move around.
I'm just curious, is like, so you're gonna pull contracted trucks from Smith County into Van Zandt County. So where do you fill that vacuum from?
We have,
Like, do you
other-
have some on standby that you're not
yes,
using?
yes, sir, we have trucks all over our system, and the way we move them is to cover areas. We're constantly moving trucks to cover areas.
Well, I got ahead of myself a little bit. I'd like to call some of the firemen here that have some specific things. If they have concerns related to time issues, or they have some concerns about responsiveness, or would any of you volunteer to stand up here and tell? Doc, would you tell us a little bit about your experiences related to this?
Yes, sir, I'd be more than happy to. Dwayne Collins, aka Doc Collins, Edom. I was part of the committee that originally decided between these gentlemen and Trinity Mother Francis at the time. Of course, we all know that it's Christus now because it changed hands. We listened to both departments, what they offered, and at that time, Trinity Mother Francis was the best. When they came on, they had their contract. It appears to me, and from what I've seen in Edom, that they are lacking in meeting their obligations. Through time, possibly, when they first came on, it was great. My question is, why aren't they in this meeting? So you can address to them there, were they invited?
No, I did not invite them to this. I told them specifically, each month from January till now, to send me the reports, send me updates. Keegan, what did we send last week to Christus? We sent a request.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and including, so, I'll continue to play ball with you and give you 6 months to correct your activities. And then I'm gonna start looking for alternatives.
Well, no, I'm not, I'm just asking a question.
Plus,
They need to be called.
well, it's,
I'm
that's right.
for the best, whether it's UT or whether it's Christus now, whatever is best for our county.
that's right.
At the time, we decided from what they offered, and we heard the same thing that they're saying. Trinity Mother Francis told us, and they were moving their ambulances, and they had one left, they'd have another one come in the whole 9 yards. Yes, they need to be called to task on the contract. And I'm glad to hear that the contracts between the city and the county are all time to expire. At one time, the cities had their contract, the county had their contract. We came to them and wanted to do all the contracts at one time, but they were out of sync. So we never could get that bid from other ambulance services because they said, well, we want the whole county, or not just one city. We don't want, so
Sure.
they kind of divided and conquered and had us.
But
over there.
And I appreciate that. Precinct 2 doesn't have any cities. And, and my responsibility is precinct 2. So if you wouldn't mind, let's call Christus up here to discuss, is Christus here?
I'm Christus, I'm a shield commander.
Come right up here. Doc, stay right here. My concern is, have I been communicating with you over the last 6 months or so?
No, sir.
It's been somebody else in here.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Ricky Wheeler. I'm a shield
Wheeler.
commander for
Okay.
Christus EMS.
Yeah. What we're talking about here today is we have some concerns. Contractually, you're obligated to post an ambulance in my precinct, which is precinct 2, South Van Zandt. You do that now? Is there one regularly posted in precinct 2?
We have 3 in Canton, but we don't, is that in Witten area, the precinct 2?
No, that's down South Van Zandt, which is at 1256 and 19, 198 heading out toward Maybank.
We don't have one specifically assigned there yet.
Well,
that I know
but,
of.
and this contract is from 2019.
Okay.
That's 6 years.
Yes.
What is Christus going to do to comply with the contract 6 years in?
From my understanding, they're trying to get a place to put the toilet thing on.
Is there somebody?
I don't have the answer.
Is there somebody more appropriate to be answering these questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, that's what my concern is. I've been talking to, and I knew you were not the one I've been emailing with, but the point is I have been communicating with your folks for 6 months. Keegan has been communicating with them and is it true that Commissioner Melton had communication with them before that you're aware of, that they were not in compliance with their contract? And do you know about how long back that communication was going? I hope that you will take back 2 pieces. First of all, you're contractually obligated to post an ambulance in precinct 2 in South Van Zandt. The second thing is that your response times are still near 20 minutes. You're contractually obligated to do 14 minutes and 59 seconds.
Okay.
Now, I've got some firemen here, and and Doc is one. Doc, do you have anything? I would assume that you're not really prepared to discuss any of this, but
I'm just here
to hear what we have to say and take that back.
To represent best I can.
Then you were put in a bad position, then weren't you? Right? I mean, if they sent you here to represent and you weren't prepared with any of this information, then they put you in a bad position.
I believe someone else.
You don't have to agree with that, but I mean.
I believe someone else is on.
I'm previously no longer a volunteer fireman, but I had over 35 years at Edgewood. And I've worked closely with this guy right here on a lot of different situations. Now, have I paid attention to response times? No, when you're on the scene, you're doing stuff and you're not aware of the time. I'm sure that there's been times that they probably didn't fulfill the contract. And in the past, Cliff, the way that they operated, if we are, Mitch, if they has had to send an ambulance out of the area for to a hospital, Dallas, Fort Worth, whatever, they've always brought another ambulance from the area, either halfway between the cities to post.
I understand that.
And then
Yes.
they kind of, so that's gonna throw the time off a little bit.
We do our
You know,
best.
so I'm not taking up nobody.
I think
I'm
what
just-
Cliff is saying is that he wants an ambulance in his
I
precinct.
understand that, and I don't blame you.
And I've been saying it for,
Yeah,
yeah.
6
I
months.
don't blame you one bit for that. I would want one there too.
And,
You know, and I would love to
and-
see an ambulance in Edgewood instead of a Q1.
Well, but you know,
that's what
that's
we get.
fine, but
Yeah.
they're not contractually obligated to put an ambulance
No.
in Edgewood,
No.
but they are contractually obligated to put one in precinct 2.
Right.
And you're contractually obligated to hit 90% of your calls less than 15 minutes.
Right.
And that's what's aggravated me, is that I have spoken with them for 6 months now. And now I'm looking for alternatives, because the contract hasn't been hit anywhere close to it.
Well, they've had 6 years to get an ambulance there.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been done.
I'd just be curious if they even approached anybody as far as putting an ambulance out there, like if that fire department out there, have they approached them to?
Well, you know, they have.
I'm just curious if they even tried.
Just like in Will's Point, they were, I think y'all was stationed in the fire station for a while.
I
In
think
Will's
for
Point,
a little while.
and then they built the new building up there. So they built, I assume they purchased the property and built that building.
I believe we lease it from.
Leased. Okay. And so they have their own station, I guess you'd call it that, you know, where their ambulance is up there. So I mean, they could even do that out there. You know,
So Doc, what have you seen?
Well, the way Edom does it, we have a bay that they lease from us, we have their sleeping quarters,
that's what
when
we
we built our station, we built it. And it really relieved a lot of us having to make calls at night.
that's the
Right.
same way with Edge.
And,
Is it South Bend, up in 26?
and, of course, the contract, you guys oversee it. So I would definitely encourage you to get Christus in here and grill him. And we need
Yeah,
the best service possible out there where we are right now. We are seeing more EMS calls than we are fires. It's gotten worse every year. The aging population, especially out at Calendar Lake. And I want you guys to get everything straight, because not too long, I'm gonna be calling that ambulance. I'm getting that age. So let's get it right.
What's your, or any of the rest of the fellows that are here, are they hitting their times? I mean, do you see that it's an hour to get Christus to respond to some of these calls?
Depending on the location of the incident, severity, it exceeds the time frame that they have. I'm not gonna say it's all the time, but there are incidents where we're well exceeding that time frame. And just to talk about the location, I know in South Bend, Zandt, at Station 3, which is in Precinct 2, we made an offer to give them a May. I was informed by Sean Salter, they had $100,000 to invest in configuring one of those bays, making an ambulance bay with sleeping quarters, putting the post up there, and they never followed through with that offer.
That's what my understanding was as well. And I spoke to the landowner out there. He said, if they need, another 100 feet, I'll give them another 100 feet. But I haven't had any communication back with Mr. Salter since I started in January related to this issue. And what I don't want to happen is I don't want to say, I'm unhappy, and they say, well, we'll build something out there. Well, and then another year. Now here we are 6 months later, and I still don't have anything. I don't have and really what it comes down to for me is it's a breach of contract.
Comes down to me, it's like one person out there waiting their life depending on it.
That's exactly right.
That's what it comes down to. It's like, the need to have that unit in that area for that one person that needs it the most.
That's exactly right.
So should we write a letter notifying them that they're in breach of contract? Should the county do that?
I think that would be a great start.
Is Tonda still in here?
Yes, she's here.
What are your thoughts related to this?
I haven't seen this contract, it wasn't given to me. When does it expire?
It's
It was initial 5 year and then automatically renewed for another 5 years.
a 6 month notice for no cause.
Clearly, they're in breach. I think if we give them notice of the breach and notice of our intent to, if that's what you gentlemen, an option, if that's what you decide to do, is for us to give them notice of the breach, and notice of our intent to leave the contract. That's an option.
How long of a notice do we give them?
6 months is what's required in the contract.
I know that you've already given them 6 months to kind of
Yeah, but it's unofficial.
come up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
today. But what kind of timeline do we give them now if we decide to do this? Do we give them the opportunity to bring it up to the contract, or do we just?
You know, the real issue is, and I'm sure we've all had people either in our business, professional life, or in our household you know, you let them know that you're not happy with what they're doing, and then they do just enough to comply.
Yeah.
And they haven't done enough to comply with, I shouldn't have to hold anybody's feet to the fire in order for our people's lives, health, and safety to be protected.
Agreed.
The reason that all these firemen are here today is because they recognize this, and I think there are others that are not here that also are not happy with the status that we're at right now. That response times have been too slow, and that puts additional pressure on our volunteers when you can't get an ambulance out there. This incident report that I have here that I'm happy to share with the rest of you, an hour after an automobile, this is the EMS call. That doesn't make any sense for them to come rolling up there. No lights, no siren, ambulance up an hour later.
So looking at the contract here, just having a quick review, obviously not in full detail. The contract defines minor breaches and major breaches and termination for cause. A major breach is listed in paragraph 9.2, failure to comply with the response time requirements for 2 consecutive months or for any 3 months in a calendar year is a minor breach. Failure to comply with the response time requirements for 3 consecutive months or for any 4 months in a calendar year is a major breach.
Worst failure to have an ambulance in the precinct.
That's there's also a paragraph here, deliberately scales down operations to the detriment or performance or level of service without prior consent of the county, allows for termination for cause.
Did you say something that somebody, a representative was coming?
Yeah, he's got a problem. Mr. Salter's on. Is it Mr. Salter coming on his way?
That's what I understand.
Sean's on the way.
Would we have to, depending on what we want to do we have to notify this, because the cities are in this with us, right? We'd have to notify the cities and everyone else.
I'd be happy to notify the cities, but I think that, you know, even the cities, you know, at 16 and a half minutes on this performance review of May 2025, I would doubt that 16 and a half minutes within the city.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just didn't know if we had the sole authority to do it, or we need to get with the cities, or how that works.
They need to be contacted.
Yeah.
So is there any reason why, I mean, like, is there a justifiable reason why they would be an hour late and not have their lights on? I mean, like, could there be a justifiable reason that we don't know?
Without me knowing.
I mean, it's hypothetically, would they know what that call was? I mean, like, in other words, do they have to evaluate, 2 calls come in at the same time, they have to evaluate one, they have to evaluate both of them, right?
Right, yeah.
Just on what they hear on the radio, is that right? And so you say, I got a heart attack over here and I've got a guy with a broken finger over here. You know, what?
That's kind of done through our dispatch.
Could that be a reason why they were an hour late? Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Oh, no, I'm good. It was something else.
Okay.
So that.
I was just curious. I mean, it's hard to believe that a person would be in a really a medical emergency and have to wait an hour.
Well, me, honestly, seeing what I was looking at that,
You don't know.
I wouldn't
Okay.
wanna try to do that, honestly.
Okay. Thank you.
So, my question is, what is our,
You gotta get back.
commitment on this contract? What are we paying for this service?
He wants to put something on that same. Or you want to talk on that same thing he was talking on about the hour?
Yes, sir.
There is no cost. There's no cost.
It's a cost, just to the patient.
I'm just speaking for our company, okay? When we have an area where we had multiple calls and we do not have a truck that's close by, we will call another company that's closer by and ask for mutual aid. Because we're not gonna sit there and wait for a patient, wait for an ambulance. We don't care what color it is. That patient needs help.
And that's specifically what I asked for, was
It depends on
mutual
where it
aid
is.
calls.
Which truck would be called? If it's close for Kaufman, obviously be careful at, or it could be one of our trucks from Henderson County, or now I'm speaking for this county, you know, if we were here. Alright, but if it was Smith County, obviously it'd be probably Christus, because there are some trucks around us. But
So what you're saying is if you had this county and you got overloaded, you'd call another company?
we call Fairfly, we call one of our, you know, over in another county, come over. We might even call Christus over here in Lindale, which help us if they're closer. You know, we're gonna call the next closest truck. We don't care what color it is, the patient needs help. And we're gonna get you the fastest truck there. You're not gonna wait an hour. I'll guarantee you that.
Sir, if by chance that we did change and y'all got the contract, if I'm correct, Christus has a care flight in Wills Point, right?
We'll call
No, I'm just saying, don't we have a care flight in Wills Point right now? That's stationed there?
Flat for life.
Flight for life, yes, I'm sorry, yeah. So if y'all got the contract, if we chose to do that,
that's,
and y'all got the contract, would that be something that y'all would look at doing or would do?
yes, sir. We don't overfly another company to get just you.
No, I'm not asking you to overfly, but I'm just saying, if by chance that the contract changed and y'all got it.
Oh, you're asking if we'll put a helicopter
Yes.
there? Probably not, because we have a helicopter right here in Athens that can get there just as quick.
I don't agree with you on that, but.
Well,
You know,
I
that's-
don't run the helicopter
Yeah, I
service.
understand
I only
that, I
run,
understand that.
I'm only talking for ground, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we do have a helicopter
But that's
right there.
something that's,
Yes, sir.
that,
I
that
understand.
is.
But we do have one that's close by and,
Good point.
but I'll tell you right now, we won't overfly another
Right.
service
No,
to get you help.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
You know.
Not unless they call. I think there was a question back here in the, or point back here in the back.
I would say that I'm backing up, it's, DWT respond, prisoners would have somebody, they would send, somebody, I had several occasions, but this, they were out asking.
And that goes back to your dispatch, right? That request for mutual aid.
Yes, sir, that's what I was gonna say, we are constantly asking for mutual aid, we get airplane, we get AMR, we get these guys. There are times when no one else has available units either, and so when that happens, we have to get our posted unit there as quickly as we can. So.
Commissioner, with regards to helicopter and most point,
Yes, sir.
although I could bring in our program director to speak with our supply times from our hospital as well. There is nothing contractually that precludes Christus keeping that helicopter in most point. And since it would be a close first responder and such, it is a helicopter that could be utilized in terms of response. But there's nothing that says because the ground contract is with a certain provider that you cannot have a helicopter in that city.
From another.
That would be a operational and business decision on the part of Christus EMS. But UT would not exclusively keep them out of this point and keeping that helicopter.
Thank you. Yes.
All right.
Cliff wants an ambulance in his precinct.
He's right, he's right.
I think that's
for wanting that.
All right. Tanya, do you have anything else?
Oh, I was just, again, I'm still looking at this contract. If the county determines a major breach has occurred and the nature of the breach is, in the county's opinion, such that public health and safety are endangered, after CMS has been given reasonable opportunity to correct such deficiency, CMS will cooperate completely and immediately with the county to effect a prompt and orderly takeover of the county EMS. So there's no specific time listed in there. It says that we have to give them notice that you believe that their deficiency is affects public health and safety. And if they can't correct it, which clearly they've known about this problem for quite some time and
2 years.
apparently have been offered solutions according to this gentleman and have not corrected.
Well, I just don't, I don't want to hold precinct 2 hostage to promises that so far have not been kept.
Go ahead, Doc.
One last thing, we're looking at this, something that really needs to be addressed, should have. But you're gonna need to consider the cities, as you know, you're gonna have to consider the fire departments that have bays for them, because we're making, they're paying us some fees. So all those things have to be cleared.
Do you hold those considerations higher than the health safety of
No.
precinct 2? That to me, yeah. But you do understand my point, my larger point. Yeah.
And that money does help us in our department. So we're gonna have to make up that, if we can't lease that bay out, we're gonna have to make it up. We'd like to offer that bay. to somebody
Absolutely.
else at the same,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if I was a betting man, I would bet that Christus will rectify the problems.
Yeah.
After this meeting. Like they will.
He's on his way, he's about 10 minutes out.
I would have
I
hoped,
hope he's driving an ambulance. Brand new one. Right.
I would have hoped that that he would have done that in January.
Yes.
Or in
Shouldn't have
2019, when they obligated themselves to put an ambulance in precinct 2.
Shouldn't have to come to this point.
And
All right. I think we need to move on.
Brandon.
Is there any further?
I just kind of I don't know how we do it, but if we got the Christmas guy coming in, we just kind of put this on pause and finish it, and then we'll come back to it and let them talk.
Okay. Well, the Christus should have been notified of this meeting and given opportune time to present or prepare themselves for it. But apparently that wasn't a consideration. So item number 8, discuss and consider approving the county judge to sign LGS 19-0039-07 contract amendment to add 3 additional users for LGS software for the sheriff's department. Sheriff's Department is requested to have access to the court reporter or court systems, and this contract amends it to give 3 more licenses for the Sheriff's Department. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
a
Okay.
second.
Okay, motion is made and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 9, discuss and consider approving county judge to sign a cooperative agreement with the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board for Cedar Creek FRS Site 101 project. The Cedar Creek site is it's a dam project, and I'm sorry, didn't sound right. It's a project that to help restore a dam that is in Project 101, it's called. And the cost of this is 2.9 million. And the cost the county cost is 0. So this is all being held, but we have to sign this agreement in order to get it in their budget process for the next fiscal year. So flood control, structural repair activities using state funds. So, is there a motion to approve me signing this cooperative agreement with the, State Soil and Water Conservation Board?
I make the motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 10, discuss and consider the approval selection for a grievance committee for Texas, local government code section 152.015. And, chapter 152 of the local government code creates a salary grievance process for elected county and precinct officials to challenge their salaries, expenses, and allowances as set out in the proposed budget. So, an elected county or precinct officer who disagrees with the salary or personal expenses provided in the proposed budget may request a hearing before the Salary Grievance Committee before the budget's final approval. And that Salary Grievance Committee is a 9-member, consists of 9 members. And there's 2 ways to do it. One is generally consists of the county judge, sheriff, tax assessor, collector, treasurer, county clerk, district clerk, county attorney, or criminal district attorney, and a number of members in the public necessary to provide 9 voting members. And the county judge would be chair of that committee and is not entitled to vote. As an alternative, the Commissioners Court may vote to have the committee consist of 9 public members, which is also chaired by the county judge. And under this process of the public members, the county clerk places the names of each person serving on the grand jury during the preceding calendar year on separate slips of paper. And at the meeting, the slips are placed in a container. The county judge draws the appropriate number of names to select the public members of the Salary Grievance Committee. So what is your pleasure? Do you want to have the host of elected officials and some public members, or do we want to select from the members of the grand jury during the preceding calendar year for the 9-member?
Let me just do the draw.
Okay, you want to move forward with the drawing?
Yes.
All right, we are prepared to do that. Everyone in agreement on that? Oh, okay. Is there a motion? Bobby made the motion.
I made the motion
To do it. All right, and there's a second.
Well, whose names are in there?
Those are grand jury.
Oh, I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Say we would do this through a grand jury. Okay. Anybody object? All right. So what I will do is I will draw it. We will do it in the order. The first 9 members will be considered the grievance committee, and then the rest of the names will be alternates. So that the first one can't be drawn. So who's going to read them?
You're reading.
I have to read? All right. Samuel Smith. Lisa Phillips. We're going fast. William Garvin. Charity Reynolds. Phyllis Ashlock. John Kunick. Damian Toner. Peggy Kimball. Sandra Stutz, not Stutz, Stutz.
That's 9.
Well, we're going to draw them all.
Okay.
Because the rest of them will be alternates, because there may be some either disqualified or not.
Okay.
Brian Stokes. Travis Sprayberry. Richard Tetrick. Lucille Richardson. Rodney Hoffpower. Ryan Barker. Patricia Eggenbacher. Edgenbacher, not Egg, Edgenbacher. Julie Seymour. Robert Quillen. Gary Moore. Karen Townsend. Justin Joslin. Jason Chamley. Kerry Jones. Nancy Jett. Kaya Rozelle. Sarah Vaughn. Melissa Rhodes. Ruben Leja. Michael Metcalf. Coy Graham. Tina Mons. And I have the final name right here. Vicky Starnes. So those are the names drawn. You got them? We're good? Okay. All right. So that item number 11, consent agenda. Consent agenda items considered routine by the Commissioners Court, and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the county judge or commissioner requests an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We need to remove item number A, discuss and consider dispensing with the reading of the minutes of the meetings of the Commissioner Court, approval of the same for June 18th and June 23rd, because those minutes weren't quite ready, but the others are others are done. So is there a motion?
Do we also remove E?
No, there was E. Yes, there were no monthly reports.
I'd make a motion that we accept all of the consent agenda with the exception of A and E.
All right.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign, motion passes. Item number 12, is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, can we give
No.
Mr. Salter just a minute more to get here?
Been over 14 minutes, 59 seconds.
Anybody have updated information?
I would suggest that we have another workshop and give him ample time to prepare and in that regard, and not make him show up unprepared.
The preparedness of a contract, generally speaking, is compliance with the contract. I'm perfectly okay with doing a workshop, but I don't accept when you've obligated yourself to post an ambulance in our precinct and you have not.
Understood.
And I also can't accept some manufactured answer for why you're not coming anywhere close after 6 years of hitting your less than 15-minute response times, because it is the health, safety, and welfare of the people of precinct 2, and that evidently does get me fired up when you have so blatantly. So I don't know what preparation can necessarily be made. I'm presenting the facts as they are on the ground, and I support our volunteer firefighters all across this county, but specifically in precinct 2, who I believe have not been supported the way that they need to have been supported. So that's why I have been on the email, on the phone, and they've been in my office for the last 6 months, and we have seen no improvement. So I don't hold out.
By your own admission, the last time you talked to him was in January.
No, that's the first time that I spoke with him.
So he wouldn't need time to.
No, you said the last time you spoke.
No, he started in January. I was in that meeting with him.
Right.
But that wasn't the last time that I spoke with him, and it wasn't the last time that we had email communication. In fact, the last email communication that we had regarding our concerns and consideration was on June the 13th.
I agree with you 100% on that, but I still feel like that you should have been, or they should have been invited to this to be able to maybe have a reason. I'm not saying they do, but I still feel like they should have been here at this meeting.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And I would have
I agree
supported
with
you making them aware of it.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So the response time is 14 minutes, supposed to be 14 minutes?
And 59 seconds.
Is that, Jeremy, is that reasonable? Like, is that a reasonable response time for him?
In city. Yeah, it's in city. It's in city.
It's both,
The
based on the contract.
contract said 22 minutes in the county. It's 14 minutes.
I'm just asking if you think that's reasonable. I mean, like, depends on what part of the county it's in, maybe?
Yes.
Some of my northern sections, northwestern sections, some of the roads up there were causing them to have to go a little slower. I wasn't talking about you. I wanted to.
Sound like you all did. But yes, sir, I mean, that's what we on, I will say this, I wasn't prepared, I was just coming to observe it here today. I'm well versed and fully aware of your concerns. The contract we have in place is more superior to what we've had in the past, so we'll see.
Thank you.
If the contract is if the terms of the contract are met, then yes, that's great. You can have a great contract. If the terms aren't met, and that's what I've been speaking about for the last 6 months, is that yeah, and that's what my overall consideration was, and so I'm perfectly happy to set this off for 2 weeks and have an updated conversation. We've had an opportunity to hear from these folks, and if you, Mr. Salter, if you'd like to come up, my complaints are twofold. They're the same complaints that I told you back in January. First one is that you're not meeting your times on 90th percentile based on the contract, and there's still not an ambulance posted in South Van Zandt as you contractually obligated yourself to 6 years, more than 6 years ago.
Yes. When we met in January, I believe I had the opportunity to meet with the two of you. You know, one of the things that we did is we reviewed and I apologize, I'm Sean Salter. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for Krista CMS. I apologize for my tardiness. I office in Longview. I don't think I broke any laws trying to get here, but I probably came really close. So again, when we met in January, one of the things that we had discussed was a previous meeting that had been held, series meetings with Commissioner Milton, where we were looking at the heat map for where best to place an ambulance. We can place an ambulance in South Van Zandt County. Is it preferred to put it somewhere so that it still has delayed response time to other parts? You know, so we wanted to look at the heat maps and make an educated decision about where to place that ambulance. Commissioner Milton, who obviously your predecessor, he had strong desire for it to be placed next to the bingo hall, very close to Maybank. And so it was supposed to be an opportunity for an entity to construct there, and we would contribute dollars to the construction of the quarters at that location. The data, I don't think supported that area. That's not where the predominance of the calls for precinct 2 occur. And so again, you know, when we left in January, the decision was that we would repeat that heat map analysis, which was supposed to run through the month of June. It's now July 1, so we'll take the data to look at a year's look back to determine exactly where the heat map is and where the best place to put an ambulance. What I can commit to you, Commissioner Williams, and I think you said it best, someone said it best, I was trying to listen to the audio during the drive over, we will have an ambulance in precinct 2. There'll be a posted ambulance somewhere in precinct 2, right? I can assure you that I'll have that done within 5 business days.
You know, and what bothers me, and I appreciate that, but we talked about this, you know, it would take me getting up here talking like this for you to react and do what you contractually obligated yourself to do 6 years ago.
So I appreciate that. The contract was executed in 2019. I started with the service in 2020, right to COVID. And so of course we had the COVID impact.
no doubt COVID is now over, so what do we do? I apologize. I really thought that our meeting in January was collaborative and kind of, we're gonna be making a joint decision together in the mutually described location. And really, my only other contact with you, I did.
Other than the emails
received
and
from Keegan, you wanted the full reports for the past 6 months. Those were provided within 8 hours. So
what about the one that we would have before Thursday of, after this? You said by Thursday, your communications director would, manually collect the data and provide that to me by Thursday of next week.
Yes, sir. And that is a manual process, as I tried to communicate. We're going record by record to look at the number of times. As my colleagues from UT described earlier, we call for mutual aid and no different than any other ambulance service in
Sure.
Texas. We
Sure.
mutual aid on behalf of UT mutual aids on behalf of us, as does CareFlight, as does AMR. Hopkins County, we of course, request assistance from all of our surrounding partners on occasion.
Sure, and you recognize, hopefully, that I saw this email here as we'll have it to you by next Thursday, but we haven't had an opportunity to see that yet, have
Yes,
we?
That's correct. That's correct.
So to me, I saw it as another promise made.
I see.
And while we can have a collaborative meeting, if I don't see an ambulance posted, I would say that it's better, and I think I said this in January, I think it's better to have one posted in the wrong place in precinct 2 and move to the right place than it is to just wait, let's not post one at all until such time as we determine exactly where the pristine, best spot is.
I don't recall you saying that, but I'm certainly not going to argue if that's your memory. So,
Well, my main concern is to have precinct 2 covered, and it hasn't been for 6 years, and that's what my big gripe
So what
is.
does it look like if you were to put one there tomorrow without a station to put it in? You just post one up and then you.
Yes, sir.
Except
We
that
got the precinct barn.
we have the precinct barn, and we have another gentleman here who's already said that back some time ago that it could have been posted at 19 and 1256.
I believe that was the first time I had heard that offer, so I look forward to visiting with him after this meeting. I think it's a great opportunity. You, of course, had mentioned an area and went out immediately after we met in January to look at that space. It definitely was, if we're going to construct something, it's going to require some modification, obviously. But again, we were really trying to look at the data for where is it optimal to place the.
I have nothing wrong with that, but when I don't see activity in 6 years, then that bothers me.
Yes, sir.
Because I have only one obligation, and that is to the folks in precinct.
You can rectify it. You
Yes, sir.
think you can rectify it in 5 days?
Absolutely.
So we just hope nothing happens in 5 days out there.
Yes, sir. I'll do everything to beat that timeline. And of
Okay.
course, obviously I'll have to prove it to you, so I will do that.
So do you have any resources in Maybank or Gun Barrel City that you can draw from?
No, sir, that would be a mutual aid request. So, obviously, as everybody's aware, Maybank is the junction of three different counties. So,
Right.
we certainly mutual aid on behalf of UT and on CareFlight and vice versa. So.
Okay.
And again, I apologize for being late. I just wasn't aware of the meeting.
Thank you.
Then you're not late.
All right. Is there anything else?
Nothing for me.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second? Motion has been made, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
I'm a punk.
Yes. Yeah.
We come back 11.
11, yes.
Great. I thought it was 1. Was it?
No, it's 11.
It was gonna be later. It was 1.
But at least you're gonna be there, right? So we're happy to have you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You do, that's right.
Thank you.
Sir, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
I was gonna draw him, call them, I was gonna stand there.
That's what that, yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna do that so fast, you can't do it about all right. Thank you. Forward. Thank you.
Same here.
Now, that I heard you have heard, and I appreciate that, name, so.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.